Welcome to Health Matters. I'm your host, Dr. Lana Marconi. Tonight we're going to talk about happiness and emotional well-being. Now, my first guest. She is a chiropractor turned success coach and founder of the Center for Heart Living. Please welcome Dr. Lise Janelle. Hi, Dr. Lise.
Hey, hello, Lana. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
All right, Dr. Lise, let's rock and roll. There's a lot of unhappy people in the world. According to Oprah, when she pooled the international community during her life class, apparently 77% of the people said that they were in emotional and spiritual pain. That's the global community. Here in Canada, we have millions of people who are depressed, including children, and millions more expected to follow. So I understand that you have a little something to help people that you want to give away to our viewers tonight. What do you have?
Yes, I have my book, Conversation with the Heart, because I have found over the years that as human beings, we live our life either through our mind, our emotions, or through our heart. And what all of us are looking for is that connection with the heart, because that's where we experience happiness. When people disconnect from there, they feel lives of quiet desperation, as Thoreau said.
Absolutely. Viewers at home, if you'd like a copy of Dr. Lise's book, please call us in studio, and our wonderful producer will take down your information, 905-595-LIVE. Also, if you have any questions for my panel this evening, please give us a call at 905-595-LIVE. All right, Dr. Lise, in your book, you talk about 8 mirrors. Explain to our viewers what these 8 mirrors are and how they kind of wake us up and how they're tied into happiness.
As human beings, we live our life through 8 basic areas of our life. One is the environment of our environment. For example, your house, your car, your clothes. And often people tend to try to get worth through those things on the outside. And what you'll be reflected to you will be exactly where you feel you're at. And sometimes people have low self-esteem and they need to buy expensive things that will reflect their worth. And what happens if they lose these things? So then they get into a crisis. And that crisis can actually be your saving grace, because through that crisis you have to re-examine, why do I do the things I do? Am I doing these things just because I want to appear to have some status? The other one can be our family. Like the connection with your family. If you only feel worthy when you're connected to your family, what happens as a mother, for example, if your kids go away to school and now you're at home and you don't have a meaning in life, like that's a crisis. You're forced again to go inside yourself and find out, who am I really?
Sure, like the empty nest syndrome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of people, like women, get depressed after that.
Yeah.
It can be society, our friends. What happens if all of a sudden, to follow your heart, you need to leave your nest of friends and go somewhere where you're not known? You can have deep depression. A young man came to see me. He's 19 years old, and he left his country to come to Canada to study, and he wanted to commit suicide.
Wow.
The another environment can be your career. If you define yourself by your career and you get fired, who are you? If you define yourself by your money and you lose everything in the stock market, who are you?
Yeah, and Deepak Chopra often, asks that profound question, who am I? And oftentimes people will say, well, I'm a daughter, or I'm a wife, or, I work at the bank, or I do all these external things, but that's all ego. Really, who are you at the core of it? Right?
I find a wise question you can ask someone is, if you had 24 hours left to live, what would you do? And this is where you would see what matters most to people. And most of the time, I've been asking this question to hundreds and hundreds of people. And when I ask this question, most people, if they had 24 hours left to live, they would want to spend some of this alone and reflect and have gratitude and do a transition. But the other part is they would want to be with loved ones, and they would want to be grateful and have gratitude. Gratitude is the key. This is, when we have gratitude, we know we're in our heart.
Sure. What would you do?
What I would do is I would go in meditation. I would be grateful. I would look back at my life. I would make sure that I feel grateful for everything that's ever happened to me. And I would spend the rest of my time in nature and with my family and saying thank you.
Nice.
Have a party, maybe do all kinds of crazy things and just celebrate.
I would dance.
You would dance?
Yeah, I would dance. I love to dance, and research shows dancing actually helps to improve your mood, boost your mood. And I would laugh, because laughter also improves your mood. Yeah. Okay, so we talked about environment, family. What other mirrors do we have?
So I talked about
crises. You're getting at, like, crises wake us up.
That's the blessing.
That's the blessing.
And when you have these environments, look, because, for example, one is health and physical beauty. As a woman, we are often our physical beauty. What happens as you age? If you're a man and you define yourself by your physical strength or because you're an athlete, what happens if that goes away? So look at how you're using the mirrors of your life, and are you defining, there's nothing wrong with wanting all of these things, but don't define yourself from those things. These are the things that you can have in your life. I think it's one of the Buddhist principles of non-attachment. It's not really about not having those things. It's about not judging yourself whether you have these things or not.
Yeah. So I hear you saying the external things don't really attach to the external things because to make you happy. And research actually shows, for example, with money, if you were to get a windfall, like of $1 million, let's say, and if you were unhappy before you received that money, your mood would boost to becoming happy, but then after a while you would go back to the same mood that you were prior to receiving the windfall. And actually research shows that with marriage as well. So depending on what your mood was before you got married, it would boost up and then go back down to where it was. So it shows that external objects or people, their effect of happiness on us is temporary.
I think what happens is often people think, if I can get this in my life, then I'm going to be happy, and they get it. And then actually there's often depression, from elation to depression, because you end up feeling like, I don't feel any different. So if that thing that was going to make me happy is not making me happy, there's really no hope for me.
Yeah. Okay, go on. What else do we have?
Spiritual, the environment of spirituality. For me, the highest level of spirituality is having unconditional love for self and others. That would be having transcended everything in here. And I think it's an ideal goal to go towards. But at the same time, we know whether or not we have attained this when we can sit in silence and be at peace and not have to perform anything and just be able to listen to the heart. You know that you have been able to listen to the heart and you are acting on your heart when you can just sit at peace and not feel like you have to move or do something or get great anxiety.
Yeah, experience that stillness and operate in the world from that place of stillness. Right? And the next mirror?
I think we've done them all.
Have we? Okay.
Yes.
So we have, what about career? I have career and finance.
I touched those
We did?
two. Yeah.
Okay. I want to mention one thing about Deepak Chopra and career. In his book, The 7 Laws of Success. Have you read it, that little book of his, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success? It came out a long time ago.
Yes.
And he says that one of the reasons people don't feel happy is because they're not connected to their dharma. And for him, 3 components of their dharma are connecting to your spirituality, like you just mentioned, connecting to your inner god and your inner goddess, connecting to your talent, because there's something that you can do that nobody else can do better, and connecting with service, so serving humanity. And when you have all 3 lined up, the universe, according to him, is supposed to support you.
Well, that's how I describe this, is that within ourselves there is a voice, and that voice has been guiding us all our life. And when we look back at our life, and the reason why we're unhappy is that as human beings, often we have the search for pleasure without challenges. And we're trying to get one side of the duality, which is impossible to get. But if we're wise, what we're going to be able to look back is, most of us, I would say, most of us has 2 or 3 big dramas that happen to us, something that's really painful, that's been driving our life, getting us to react. And if we're wise, we can go back and find how this challenge in my life actually was serving me. And you will see that a lot of the talents, a lot of the interests that you have stem from this challenge. And you really heal yourself when you're able to take those challenging moments, have gratitude for them, and see how you can serve the world as a result of having had these challenges in your life.
That's a great point, and all that information is in your book.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, you know, Eckhart Tolle talks about the pain body, and the pain body is the part of the person that just feasts on misery and more pain, and the person isn't really aware of what's going on with that. And so, for example, a person who had a lover cheat on them, I mean, some of these people stay caught up in that pain for years, and it you know, immobilizes them to move forward in life because they can't see that that tragedy was a wake-up call. Right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. We can take anything that happens to us. You see it all the time. Some people have accidents and they become quadriplegic, and they have amazing, inspiring lives. And somebody has a tiny thing happens to them, and they use it to stop and not live anymore. So it's really a choice we all make. And I'm not poo-pooing that there are very challenging situations out there. I've had my share. I'm sure you have had your share. And if we are wise, we're going to realize, and I think as human beings, as a race, we need to wake up. Yeah. We really need to wake up. That's why I like using the yin and the yang. Usually it's black and white. But for me, it represents that everybody on planet Earth, all of us, are going to have challenges. And we better stop trying to look only for support. We need to be able to embrace both sides. That's the game. If you start to think, how is this support getting me what my dreams and aspirations are, and how does this challenge help me get that as well?
Yeah, I was watching Ellen DeGeneres once. She had rock star Melissa Etheridge on, and Melissa Etheridge, it was after she had cancer, so Melissa was saying, you know, when cancer had knocked on my door, it was a wake-up call because my life was out of balance. So she said that I'm very grateful for the cancer because it helped me to bring my life back into alignment.
I have quite a few cancer patients that have come to see me, and using the cancer can be what transform lives. And what's important when you're facing a huge challenge, you start asking yourself wise question, like, why am I doing this? Is this really what I would love to be doing? And people turn it around and have the greatest blessing out of the greatest challenge. All of us, if we choose to, we can actually transform challenges into blessings.
How do you get people to be grateful for a trauma when they're so stuck and caught in recycling their trauma over and over?
Well, people have to decide if they want to live an inspiring life. Your intention will create your reality. Yeah. Your intention will create your reality. So if your intention is to live an amazing life, and I think that would be a wise intention to have, you have no choice but to use the challenges that happen to everybody and find out how they help you.
We're going to just hold that thought. We're just going to take a quick break. More with Dr. Lise Janelle and looking at happiness tonight on Health Matters. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back to Health Matters. We are exploring happiness tonight, and I'm sitting here with Dr. Lise Janelle. Dr. Lise, okay, in your book, you say many wonderful things. I love your book, by the way, and for viewers at home, we are giving away Dr. Lise's book this evening. If you'd like a copy, please dial 905-595-LIVE. All right, you say that the reason people are in pain has to do with how well or not well, really, they are connected to their true self. What is the true self?
When you ask someone to point at themselves, they usually go, this is me. Rarely somebody's going to go, this is me. People go right there. And when we go and we are still, there is that voice within ourselves and our heart. And that's our true self. In moments of gratitude, we have better access to it. But that our true self is guiding us all the time. And we know the difference between infatuation, which is of the senses, and our true self, which wants something that's going to be fulfilling. So when we are in our heart, it feels quiet. When we're infatuated with something, when we're emotional about something, it's all fast energy, and it's often above or below the heart point. When we're in the heart, you feel it as a quiet energy, a quiet connection. And when you are there, you feel safe, you feel abundant, you feel happy, and you have wisdom.
Yeah. What does it mean to live authentically?
Living authentically is the ability to align our time with what matters most to us and to align our actions with what our heart wants.
Nice. I watch a lot of Oprah, especially her life class, and she had Dr. Martha Beck on the show once, and she's a Harvard graduate, and she's a contributor to the O magazine, and she was telling Oprah, she said, you know, I went for surgery, you know, many years ago, and I had an out-of-body experience while I was underneath the knife, and at that point I had saw the light, and the light. I felt this tremendous joy in my heart like I've never felt before. The light was of no color on earth. I felt so much peace, so much love, like just incredible inside. And she says to Oprah, she says, and the light spoke to me. And Oprah's like, okay, Martha, what did the light say? And Martha said, this light said, this goodness that you feel is normal. This is how you should be feeling all the time while you're on Earth. And if you're not feeling that, you are out of alignment with your true self. So when Martha came back into her body and the surgery was over, she said to herself, you know, I want to feel this goodness all the time. And her avenue to doing that was self-honesty. So she decided every day she was going to be honest with herself and not tell a lie. So sometimes, you know, when people say, how are you? And you say, oh, I'm doing fine. But meanwhile, you're miserable inside. She goes, I would start saying, you know, my day sucks. No, I'm not feeling well. You know, she was just brutally honest with people. She lost a lot of friends because those relationships were fake. But then after a while, she had a lot of real relationships, and she experiences that good feeling.
One of the reasons I actually started to do this work is because I took a seminar with Dr. John DeMartini and called it Breakthrough to Higher Power. And I got to do the method where you learn to have gratitude for everything in your life. And the blessing that I had was I had been so angry at my father back then. I had been so angry, and I had compressed all this anger inside of me. And when I did the work, my heart opened up so wide that I got to experience this. I didn't have to die. I was lucky. I didn't have to die to experience that state of bliss that comes when you understand that everything that has ever happened to you, everything that's happening, everything that will ever happen to you is part of the perfection to help you bring the best out of yourself so you can learn how to love, so you can love yourself and others. And because that experience was so powerful, and when I look at the perfection of my life, I needed my father to be the way he was, which was a wounded man, to make me angry, to give me drive. Without my father having been the way he was, I would have never lived the amazing life that I live. And if each one of us starts to do that, we could transform the world. Because once we start having gratitude, we start respecting ourselves, but we also respect others. I cannot go and tell someone to stop doing what they're doing, to start hurting other people. But if we're able to, each one of us start to love more and have acts of gratitude and kindness towards each other, this is how we could really shift everything.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. I want to talk more about the support and challenge, because oftentimes our perception is warped. And I mean, our Stats Canada shows how many people are depressed, right? And so for me, that's, you know, saying people are really focused on the misery, whereas they're focused on the challenge, and they're not seeing the support. So I want to play a perceptual game with you, and I learned this game when I was at York doing my undergraduate in psychology, and I had to take a course on perception. So if we can throw up a photo, it's called the vase. If we could put up a vase photo, that I can play a game here with Dr. Lise, and I'm going to ask you, once this photo comes up, what you actually see in this vase, because things aren't always what they appear to be. Okay, here's the vase. Now, do you see a vase or do you see something else?
I can see both a vase and two people looking at each other.
See, you're good at this. You're good at this. You've been trained to see both challenge and support. That's not fair. All right, let's try and trick Dr. Lise here, and I'm going to throw up another photo of the top hat. Let's throw up the top hat, and we'll ask Dr. Lise a question. Viewers at home, play along with me. Is the top hat higher than it is wide at the brim, Dr. Lise? What do you think?
I don't understand.
The top hat, is it higher than it is wide?
If it's a trick question, it's probably not.
You are correct. It's not. But what happens is our senses deceive us. We don't take in all the data through our five senses. Okay, let's try the last one. It's of the prongs, and we'll see what Dr. Lise says about the prongs. How many prongs do you see?
Well, depending on how you look at it, you either see 3 or you see 2.
2 is the correct answer. Thank you for playing with me. So I just want to show people life is not what it appears to be. Oftentimes when we have tunnel vision, we're just looking at one thing, and really what your book is showing people is to open up the blinders to see really all of what's in front of you, because really what's in front of us gets filtered through our mental schema, and we really need to drop that and look at everything. Would you agree?
I really think if we could change the whole world, if we all got in our mind that from the beginning of our life to the end of our life, we're going to have support and challenge, and the game is to use both to our advantage. And once we start looking at life that way, we're free. Life becomes fun. Like I often give my clients the exercise to have a gratitude journal. And one of my clients, she's got MS. And at first, she says she was kind of negative and she didn't know what to write in her book. She was writing all the same thing all the time. But then her assignment was to find 3 to 5 things every day. And she says, after a while, because I knew I had to write in my darn book, I had to look for gratitude. So the things I started to look for was things to be grateful for. Her life was the same life, except now she started to look for things to be grateful for.
Nice.
And it's changed her whole life.
Okay, speaking of your book, because I love it so much, I'm going to ask you to read a passage, and I wrote in your book, I'm sorry.
I love that. People come and then
we'll talk about this. Okay, so see where I wrote start? So you can start there and then stop there, and just give us a nice reading for our viewers. That would be lovely this evening.
My pleasure. I once went to a seminar where we were asked to sit with a person we did not know and share with that person what we would do if we did not have any fears. People were quite emotional, sharing their deep desires, and the people that were listening were very present and quiet. When the seminar leader asked the listener if they wanted the other person's desire to come true, we all wholeheartedly said yes. We felt that we would love to support them in any way possible. The seminar leader then asked, "Do you think that the universe would not want it for you too?" This felt right at a deep level. It does not make sense to me that our Creator would want us to be miserable. Everything that happens, both pleasant and unpleasant, is to help us achieve our deepest heart desires. Once you know that all the events that you attract are there to help you, you can start taking advantage of everything that comes your way. You won't need blind faith. Very soon you will have proven to yourself that this universe is a loving one, even if sometimes it feels really bad to your senses. As you do, your life will take on a feeling of adventure.
Nice. I love adventure.
Life is one big one.
So when I read this passage, what came to me was the idea of trust, and how many people out there just don't trust the universe to support them.
Well, from my experience, a lot of people have good reasons why they have stopped trusting, but that's why if we love who we are, we're going to take the time to heal those moments so that we can learn to trust again. When I have someone who's a parent and they stop trusting, and I ask them, would you want your child to having stopped trusting in life? And they say, oh my goodness, no. But I said, why are you doing it? And they're, oh, I never thought about it that way. Because if we have a choice in our life, we either live from our heart or from fears. That's really the only way we can live our life. From our heart, and you experience heaven on earth, or from our fears, and you experience hell on earth.
Yeah, fear and love can't share the same space. It's one or the other.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, I have another question for you from your book. You say, the thing that we all want to know deep down is that we are worthy of love. Are you saying that many people have the seated belief that they are not worthy of love?
I would say that most of us have the illusion that we are unworthy of love, and that's the biggest work that we can do. Why? Because it's like the divine cosmic joke on us. We're born into this world needing love to come from the outside.
Sure. As you're speaking, I'd like to post a photo of the tree, if we have a tree with the seeds, and keep speaking about the seeds of belief.
So, as we are born, love has to come from the outside. And if love doesn't come when we want it, how we want it, we start thinking something is wrong with me. So all of us, we go through transition. Mom sometimes is tired. She doesn't respond when we want her or need her. And mom, right now, don't panic. It's part of the perfection of a child's life. Having siblings that you've battled with, and then you go to school where little kids are mean to you. And when we look at that, we can develop the illusions that we are unworthy of love. But if you are wise, what's going to happen? You're going to wake up one day, you're going to realize this is not true. Just like your child is worthy of love, whether or not they're being bullied, you were worthy of love, whether you were being bullied.
Sure.
And what you're going to start to realize is that it's your responsibility to be happy. Your happiness is your responsibility.
And to change those seeds of belief. Because if you look at the photo, unhealthy beliefs show up as a scanty-looking tree.
Yes, that's such a happy tree.
And healthy beliefs show up as a fruitful tree. So I think that's a great analogy. Using the tree and seeds is really our seeds of belief. And really it's about shifting our beliefs, is it not?
Our beliefs will create our perception, which will create our reality.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Vincent van Gogh, the Dutch painter in the 1800s, he committed suicide. I know, like many psychologists have this painting, The Starry Night. Oh, there it is, The Starry Night. Every psychologist pretty much has this painting in their office because when he was in France, he went to a sanatorium because he had bipolar disorder. And this was his view from the room before he actually committed suicide. So treatments have changed since his time. Dr. Lise, thank you so much
thank you for
your
having
time.
me.
Thank you. We'll be back more on health matters and happiness. Thank you.